Yikes, this hair's not going to get any better, is it? Well, we are where we are. Fucking hell.
Kiri, I'm just sweating my actual tits off. It's just under that bit. What a time to have tits, eh? What a time.
Croeso I Welsh Wednesdays. I'm Kiri and this is Katie Gill-Williams. I've only got one name, like Britney or Madonna. Basically every week we meet up and we have a little chat wherever we are in the world, and we have a little sgwrs in Welsh, so we can have a little marfer and learn about different subjects. We're trying to keep up the weekly Welsh Wednesdays, and obviously work's got a little bit busier because everyone's pretending that there isn't still a pandemic. So I'm recording this live from the Comedy Store in London.
Yeah, and by osmosis, I said to Kiri, does that mean I can say I've done the Comedy Store in London?
And I said, they'll say yes because it means there's more women on the bill.
I'll take it.
Wythnos ma, dwi eisiau siarad amdan Sioe Frenhinol Cymru. So yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Royal Welsh, as it's known, not to be confused with the Fusiliers. Well, it's a huge, huge event that lasts 4 days. It started in 1901 and was originally in Aberystwyth, and then it sort of dotted about the place. And then eventually they set a permanent site, which is there now, just outside of Builth-Wells. You will have seen it if you've driven past Builth-Wells. There's a roundabout right next to it with a little chef off it. And every time I go to that little chef, there's a priest in there eating an ice cream sundae. And I mean, I've been in there 8 times, and every single time, I think only I can see him. But there's a priest in there with a peach melba or a sundae. It's one of the two, whatever you can get from Little Chef, that's what's happening. In 1958, it was actually in Bangor. And yeah, the permanent site now is in how do you pronounce it? Llanellwydd, I think. So as of 1963, they built the permanent site there, and it's been there ever since. The site looks amazing. It's got these big double gates with a big like logo on the front, and these sort of like towers, almost like turrets at the front. It's really impressive. So turning up there as a kid in a caravan with my parents was like, oh my God, this is really cool. It's a royal show. There's usually some kind of member of the royal family, some kind of fairly senior one. And in fact, Prince Charles has been a big, big champion of the Royal Welsh, and attended it in 2001 when there was the foot and mouth outbreak, and it was obviously very low on support, and farmers were being particularly, well, vilified and absolutely hammered, you know, like financially, and he sort of showed up to go, look, we need to sort of support the countryside, and he was they sort of honoured him with an award in 2014 for that, to say like thanks for everything that you or 2004, one of the two, and thanks for everything that you did then. It hasn't run every single year. They've had some notable times off. 1915 to 1980, they were a bit busy with the war effort. And then 1940 to 1945, again, because the war. And then obviously 2020 to 21 as well. It hasn't gone ahead, but they tried to do they did some events virtually, which I find strange, knowing what goes on at the Royal Welsh. And so much of it is about the atmosphere. It's interesting that they have done it online, because I just don't know how you do sheepdog trials online. Like a farmer being like, come by through a Zoom to his dog in a field. I just can't imagine it working.
Here's my very limited understanding. It's about, is it like a Glastonbury for horses and horse people?
No, I would say that is badminton horse trials. Is the Glastonbury. It's much more like it's sort of a cross between a wedding fair, but for countryside stuff. Have you been to any kind of county show?
No, it's all a bit Tory for me, that.
Yeah, well, that's the weird thing, is that people would assume it's Tory, and don't get me wrong, there's some like hardcore Brexit voting farmers there, but actually, because of the demographic of Wales, farmers aren't automatically Tories here, and also land here. Even people with not a lot of money had land or worked the land, so it's actually surprisingly mixed. But the county shows I've been to in England, I would say, are not that. The big events there are, well, a big Welsh cob display of stallions. So Welsh cob is a breed, obviously native to Wales, and there's 4 classifications of cobs. I mean, I could freestyle on this for ages, but I might just do an ep on it. And they do that on the Wednesday. It's called Welsh Cob Wednesday.
That's what we should be doing.
Welsh Cob Wednesday, yeah. The food and the drink is obviously amazing. So loads of local produce, which I absolutely love. Loads of like mad booze that's made in someone's shed somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to ask is it a piss up later on for the farmers?
I would say the spiciest element of it is the young farmers. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with this stand-up organisation, but I find them utterly terrifying because they are like sort of like work hard, party hard. So they come down, and there's often classes that they specifically compete and do displays. So it'll be like stock judging. So they will be judged on how they judge stock and tractor driving. But like, boy, do those girls and guys cut loose at the end of the day. Like, young farmers are the most, you know, when you see sort of like, oh, club 18 to 30, and I'm like, come on, babes. Because the young farmers, also, a man always has a pair of rubber tits on. Every group of like young farmers I've seen, there's always someone with some rubber tits on. It's basically then like a sort of, like a normal county show. So there'll be different classes. So, you know, there'll be like the best breed of like Tex or sheep. So you could, you know, you win that, or best in show basically of, you know, cattle and sheep and things like that. And there's, it's a bit like if you've been to the Anglesey show, which is amazing as well. And you go in there, there's big sheds, and you go and see that, you'll see the chickens and the rabbits. It's actually great for kids because there's loads of animals there. There's also things like tractor displays, falconry displays.
I confused this with the Anglesey show. So that's how little I know about like that agricultural world. And but I'm glad it's there, because I love little niche things like that. You know, there's something for everyone, you know, people who are into it. And I'm sure my little boy who's obsessed with tractors would be in his absolute glory watching that.
Well, yeah, because there's it's not niche. There's thousands of people that go. It's a huge boost for the tourism in Wales as well, the Royal Welsh, and the area in particular, which is quite a deprived area because it's in Powys, which is a very long, not very affluent county with a lot of sort of wealth disparity there. And yeah, he'd love it because you also get loads of like, it's quite good to go shopping. So you'll get like, you know, the little stores with all your stuff for your dogs, and then you'll get, you know, like posh furniture and posh rocking horse stuff, and then you'll get like feed for sheep there, and it's just a mixture of everything. And they always have like tractor stands and machinery stands and things like that, and it's just full of little kids having a go, like not obviously getting stuck in and taking it for a test drive, but you know, little kids sat on quad bikes and stuff, and it's just always little boys in overalls who've been dying to get on a tractor and just sat there beaming in a JCB. So it's very cute, very family orientated, very animal orientated. The sheepdog trials there as well. So it's a kind of display of all the skills of the people who live and survive in the countryside. And, you know, there'll be like displays of like people chopping stuff up with chainsaws and making them look nice, you know, like, and they're going to make an owl in 30 seconds, that kind of thing. So there's really crowd pleasing stuff. I think you could not be from the countryside and go and still have a really good day. I was very young when we went, and my brother went off like clay pigeons shooting and stuff. So there's stuff to do kind of no matter what age you are. And it's sort of a celebration of, I guess, the countryside and countryside pursuits in a way. But I mean, that makes it sound like everyone's just like wearing red chinos, but it's not. It's very weird. It does feel different to English shows in that respect, in that it's much more, you know, just hen farmers moaning about the price of everything. It's so weird because to me it's all so natural, and I almost know where every stall's going to be at these places, and if that stall's there, this stall will be here. And like my mum will go, oh, I hope the people who sell this are there because I need to get some more of that. But I guess it is a completely alien world if you haven't been going since you were a kid.
It is alien.
And I think if you went with the kids for a day, you'd have a great time. It'd be one of those things where you end up spending £1,000 and you've got nothing to show for it, except, you know, like an empty bag, a half-empty bag of honeycomb that you've bought for like £18 from a sweet store. But it is lovely. Start with the Anglesey show, and then I think if you like that, definitely go to the Royal Welsh, because it is the one. I went to the Great Yorkshire PC pre-COVID, and they had a falconry display, and we watched it for a bit, and they had this massive eagle, like huge, like with a 6-foot wingspan, like absolutely massive, and it just fucked off. During the display, just flew off, and it kept circling around the site, and they're like, he'll come back in a minute, and on the PA, and it wasn't having any of it, and every time it flew over, all the Jack Russells were like sure that they were going to get picked up and carried off by the shoulders. Anyway, forgot about it. About 3 hours later, I was driving home. I'd driven about half an hour away from the showground, and it was just still, it was flying. It just been like, oh, fuck you guys, and just flown off.
You recognise, like, you can recognise that in the sky. Because, you know, people who are really into birds are like, oh, there's a curlew, there's an osprey. Like, I'm like, it's a bird.
It was so big, even you could recognise it. It was like a pterodactyl. It was like, well, that's either a passenger plane or that eagle that went missing about 20 minutes ago. Now, will you come to the Anglesey show with me when it's next on?
Yes, we'll go to the Anglesey show.
I think you'll love it.
If only this is so like middle class mum who's locked in, works from home, just to have a look at some like farm hands. I do love Johnny when he's dressed up as a tradesman. The high vis, and his arse is always out.
Whatever does it for you. Well, on that note, should we speak some Welsh?
Na I fynd cyntaf, wan, achos dwi ddim yn siŵr mae gen I llawer I deud amdano Sioe Cymru Frenhinol.
Sioe Frenhinol Cymru.
Sioe Frenhinol Cymru.
There's a mutation. Frenhinol.
Frenhinol.
Frenhinol, yeah.
Frenhinol Cymru. Iesu mawr, trio eto. Sioe Frenhinol Cymru. Achos I ddim y gwbl. Si Eisteddfod yn dwi'n meddwl mae'n swnio fel hon, ond dwi yn eisiau fynd dim just I weld ffermer, just I prynu produce gwahanol, a dathlu hefyd, industry ydy pwysig I gwlad. So dwi'n hapus mae Sioe dal yn redeg, a nawn ni fynd un dydd.
Oh yeah, Diane. So you were saying that you haven't got a lot to say because you've never been, but that it sounds a lot like the Eisteddfod, and that you'd like to go for all the produce, basically local produce, and now you fancy going for the day, yeah? Yeah,
and nice to celebrate agricultural and celebrate something that really defines Wales, I think, is their agricultural culture and the farm world. Fun on the farm.
No, dwi'n cytuno, yeah. Yeah, dwi'n meddwl Sioe Frenhinol Cymru ydy, mae Sioe Frenhinol Cymru yn bwysig iawn I pobl dod o cefn gwlad, achos mae'n gallu o ffermio a be di gair am culture again? Keep forgetting this.
Ddim yn gwybod.
Wel, gallu o, a culture. Ond dwi'n meddwl, mae'n dipyn bach o siomedig, achos dwi'n meddwl mae'n camgymeriad. Dipyn bach o camgymeriad I cael plant sy'n ddim yn mynd I, Sioe sir. Felly, dwi eisiau mynd I Sioe Sir Fôn efo chdi a i'ch plant a fy cael gweld y tractor a pet the animals stroke anifeiliad A just ar ôl dwi'n mynd i sio, dwi'n cael mwy o dwi'n teimlo mwy uh, dim frawd,
Falch?
falch o fy o Maggie yn y cefn gwlad a, dallt y pobl a practices, I guess, and yeah, dwi'n wrth fy modd i cael pethau fel Sioe Frenhinol Cymru. Dwi ddim yn give a shit about the Frenhinol bit, but the rest of it.
So I think you're saying it's lovely to celebrate it, and it's nice to, I guess, give the platform of something that represents Wales's culture so well, and it's kind of got that platform. But it's really nice to, because for you, and like having, seen where you live in your other life, like that's something you're just so comfortable in that role as well, because you just know it, like that's how you've grown up.
Dwi'n meddwl mae camgymeriad i dim cael plant byw yn y cefn gwlad a ddim yn dallt y byd a, lle bwyd dod o. A lle anifeiliad dod o, a pwy sy'n gweithio efo y bwyd a anifeiliad.
If kids don't grow up in that environment, and I guess if they've had a very urban upbringing as well, they don't necessarily see the links between where your food comes from and that understanding. Like just earlier I was asking you if eggs in pasta, like I don't know any of that world, but you shouldn't be ignorant of that. And fyngwri and really anhygoel achos mae o'n gweithio yn y cefn gwlad, and mae o'n deall sut mae ecosystem yn gweithio, and he knows if you remove this wildflower here, this sort of wildlife wouldn't be there, and that's so important. We kind of forget to link efo natur.
It's even bigger shame to me to be a kid who's living in the countryside, ostensibly, but doesn't know where your food comes from, who works with your food, who looks after your animals, what they look like, what their lives are like. I think that stuff's really important because we have a big problem with rural poverty, and we have a big problem with like in Friars where I went and your partner went, your husband rather, that like there's two tiers. There's like kids like me who grew up on farms, and then there's kids like him who grew up in Maes G, and you don't really understand each other's lives. And I think I at some point start to understand what it's like being in a town or, living in housing close to people, just loads of things about what that is. And it doesn't always go back the other way. And I think it would be really good for, farming and the countryside if everyone had a bit more understanding about our world, I guess.
Do you know what I always just find just crazy? How far our food travels, and what we've got access to locally. I'm on a huge learning curve with that. I'm so ignorant with it, and I am a bit lazy, and I kind of fall into that trap and that excuse of I've got 2 kids. I just, I guess it's not good enough, but life's busy, so sometimes I feel like that's such a huge part of the daily routine, cooking from scratch and knowing where everything's coming from. I find that really hard, and sometimes I'm dipping back or quillydd, ashamed about it. What?
Well, mae'n anodd achos, ar farchnad, gwneud pethau anodd i, siop lleol, a, just mae, dwi'n gwneud dipyn bach o ffilmio efo'r, ti'n nabod Chris Roberts? Yo, yo, yo! Yeah? Yeah. And a fi a Chris mynd I the Menai Straits a gwneud bwyd efo pethau ni'n foraged am y coast. So, you know, samphire, oh my, anhygoel. And o'r farchnad, y samphire dod o Israel, pan, you know, llawer o samphire ar y, you know, banks of, o lan y môr yn y strait. So this food has been put into plastic and shipped across oceans, and it's growing outside our, you know, right outside our houses.
There's a class system in food. Mae'n drud iawn I prynu produce iach. And that is so, like, it's so wrong that vegan food costs more than meat. Yeah, it's shocking. But
totally agree. That's what we need. 2 more white ladies complaining about how food's actually, it's more expensive to eat well. No, dwi'n cytuno. But the potatoes are probably British made, so you're absolutely fine.
Kiri, at the Royal Welsh, that is where we Danny'n angen ymarfer, because they are another level. That's where we'll cut our teeth on the Welsh language. I can see us with a pale ale that we've paid about 15 quid for, proper moedrin, because when I've had a drink, that's when the Welsh comes out. I am really cocky after a drink in Welsh.
Well, diolch can you hear the sound check?
Oh yeah.
Diolch am gwylio Welsh Wednesdays. See you soon.
Gwelwch chi fe iawn. Hwyl pawb.
Ta-ra wan.
Paid cuddio dy wyrdd.